been working myself up to this one for a while now. Weeks of preparation. There's some problem solving, some responsibility, and I had to go out and buy some new toys. And all this build up has made me a bit nervous, but I'm ready to attempt to make sourdough bread. Let's do this. Over here. Sourdough bread. Before we get started, we have to go back in time. Hello there, I am your host for the Sourdough Starter. I am Jamie from the past. 7 days ago, 8 days ago, maybe more. I am here to get the sourdough starter off the ground, and I'm going to maintain it. I'm going to feed it until... Pardon the interruption, but I have to interrupt this blast from the past because it doesn't make a lick of sense. Let me just sum it up. I didn't know what the hell I was doing at the beginning of this sourdough starter creation. I didn't know how to start it, to maintain it, how to feed it, nothing. So I was loosely following a couple different recipes, and my end result was very runny and it wasn't turning out. So I had to go seek the help of a friend who was experienced in this sort of thing, and they gave it to me in layman's terms. Super simple. 1/4 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour, and 1/4 cup of lukewarm water. And then once you get it started, all you do is remove all but 1/4 cup of the sourdough starter each day, while replacing it with 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour with 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour and 1/4 cup of lukewarm water. Mix it real good. Honestly, the internet likes to be needlessly complicated sometimes, and when I was given these directions, it made everything straightforward, and it took 5 minutes of my day. I don't know if that's the most correct way of doing it. That's what I did for the last 30 days, and that seemed to work just fine for me. And that's it. See you soon. Here he is, my pet sourdough starter. He has two personalities. He has his good days and his bad days. Some days he smells like nail polish. Today he smells okay. Now he is a fighter. Some days I did forget to feed him. I forgot that he existed. And some days I just maybe screwed up the ratios of the flour and the water, and he just didn't look too healthy. If that was the case, it took a couple days to get him back on track, but he is a resilient little bugger. And I didn't want to quit on him, and he didn't quit on me. The recipe I'm using today is one from a friend of mine, and as soon as they found out that I was making bread for the first time, they were more than happy to hand over their family recipe. That's what I'm using. Okay, got all the talking out of the way. So what we're gonna get started with is the Levain. It is a leavening agent made through the process of fermentation. That is the smartest I've ever sounded ever. Take 1/2 cup of my sourdough starter, add 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour, 1/2 cup of all-purpose, and 1/2 cup of water. So I'm just gonna incorporate all this nicely together. This jar is way too small. Put a loose fitting cap on top. I'm gonna put this into a dry place. That's gonna be the oven. I'm gonna let that hang out all day. I'm going to make some Korean fried chicken right here, and then I'm going to return and do the next part. I think it's been around 6 or 7 hours since, what the hell is that baby doing? Now what I gotta do is a term called Autolyse. Combine whole wheat flour, hot water, and salt into a bowl. And I'm gonna give it the old mixeroni. I'll let the soaked flour just hang out for a bit. And so at this point I am getting slightly confused. There's a lot of steps involved and measurements. I have to just trust my recipe, the one I'm following, and if it doesn't work, then I'll just have to resort to something else. But for now, I'm gonna trust the recipe I was given. This is my Levain from earlier today. Insane. Look how much it rose. I'm adding 1/3 cup of this starter into the soaked flour, 2 1/3 cups of white flour. I'm gonna mix all this with my hands until it's turned into some craggy, scraggly looking dough. Craggy. The recipe says craggy. Very sticky, very moist, and very craggy looking. Wrap this up in plastic wrap. I'm going to let this sit here overnight, 12, 15 hours. I'm just gonna leave it, I'm gonna put it back in the oven. It's the morning. Let's check on our dough. Whoa, doubled in size. Flour my work surface. Put the dough onto the work surface. Uh-oh. It's supposed to be sticky, but it is very sticky. So I did go out and get myself a dough scraper. I think this is gonna help in scraping it off the surface. Like so, actually. Now there is this whole technique involved in how to shape this dough. I'm trying to flip the sides underneath the freaking, holy crap, this is sticky. Using the sides of my hands, I'm going to kind of hug it here like so and just rotate it back and forth like so. Whoa, I'm doing it. I don't know how long I do this for. I picked up this thing called a banneton, which is a basket used for proofing and shaping your dough. Apparently I could just use a bowl, but I wanted to go all out, so I picked this up. Lightly flour that. Cover up with plastic wrap. I'm gonna put this proofing basket into the oven, turned off, of course, boiling some water, and I'm gonna put that into a pan on the bottom of the oven just to keep the moisture in the air. And I'm gonna have this proof for 2 to 3 hours. Next up is a thing called the finger dent test. Poke, and there should be a slight bounce back, very slightly, but not completely. Before I started this video, I had to make sure I had a few new toys. I had to go out and buy a couple things. This is what I meant. This is a cast iron Dutch oven. It's heavy. This goes into the oven while it's heating up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. The oven has preheated. I'm taking the Dutch oven out of the oven and I have to move fast. I've dusted this part with some flour. Now I'm going to flip this basket over that is holding my precious dough. What the fuck? This is just terrible. The dough did not come all the way out of the basket. It looks so crappy on the top. Oh, son of a... All right, I'm gonna put this in the oven regardless. Use it as a test, I guess, and try again. I guess I have to try again. Freaking crap. Was my dough too sticky, or did I just not flour this banneton enough? Either way, I'm very upset, and I'm very upset. That was a lot of work. I feel sick to my stomach right now. It definitely resembles bread. If you look in the inside, you know, it looks pretty good, I think. However, it flattened right out and the top of it came off in the banneton. So there's lots to improve on. Lots. Trying this folding method where I just take the edges, stretching it and folding it. This side, stretch it and fold it. This side, same thing, same thing. Take this banneton and I'm gonna flour the living daylights out of it. Take my dough, put it in some parchment paper, and I'm just gonna sprinkle some flour on top of that. I'm terrified of this moment right now. There's another day of hard work right up in here, and if this doesn't come out, I'm going to be upset. Oh, thank Christ. So now I'm gonna take a knife and I'm gonna score the top of this thing because when it's in the oven, it has a lot of steam in there and it has nowhere else to go. So it's gonna go through these scores. I'm gonna transfer this into this Dutch oven. Now that the oven's preheated, I'm going to lower the temperature, 450 degrees Fahrenheit, 230 degrees Celsius, and I'm gonna bake that for 20 minutes. Now that I've removed the Dutch oven lid, I'm going to bake the bread for another 23 minutes, lidless, until it's golden looking and delicious. Woo! Yesterday's loaf, today's loaf. Now you can see yesterday's, the crumb, which is the cool term for inside the bread. It's nice and holy. Today's, much more dense. I think I know why. I think it has something to do with the amount of flour I used while I was shaping and rolling the dough. I think it affected the final product. There was just not enough moisture in this dough while it was baking. I think that also contributed to the amount of cracks all over this loaf. Lesson learned. You can definitely taste that sour in there. It's sourdough bread. It's very soft on the inside, crunchy on the outside. Ooh, I like it. Overall, for a first timer, I think I did pretty okay. Oh, I bought something for this. Couldn't go one day without some chocolate. That is another level altogether. Now this isn't going to be my last video on this subject. There's still plenty more to learn, lots of improvement, and I've bought all the tools necessary for making bread, so I gotta use them. I want to keep making more, and I want to show you guys the natural progression of what it takes to learn from scratch, which is definitely what this was, so that we can all stop eating Wonder Bread. I don't eat Wonder Bread. I'm sure someone out there does though. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you got something out of this one. And if you didn't, I hope you enjoy watching me suffer. Definitely subscribe, because I wouldn't want you to miss anything going on over here. Lots coming. You can like this video if you want. You can comment down below, only if you want. And I have Patreon now, which, if you're not familiar with that, there's a link in the description. You can check that out and see what it's all about. Big shout out to these people over here who are supporting me through that, which is awesome. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.